Okay, so today we are talking with the current artistic director of Theatrical Outfit, Matt Torney. Hello, Matt.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Matt, talk a little bit about your artistic journey before TO and your awareness of the theater before you started working.
So I'm from Belfast in Northern Ireland. So grew up there doing a youth theatre and political theatre and stuff across the border, and went to a university in Dublin. And that's sort of where my professional career began. When I graduated from there, lived in various parts of Europe doing theatre, and then got an apprenticeship at a theatre company called Rough Magic. That's one of Ireland's leading independent companies. And that, more than anything else, influenced how I think about running theatres. And we'll come back to that in a wee bit. Um, and then I'd spend a year working with them, learning craft and, assistant directing. Went to see things in London, Budapest, and then got to direct my own show, like as the capstone at the Dublin Fringe. And from that, that was nominated for awards, and that's kind of when I kind of started, like directing professionally. And it ended up applying for an MFA in New York at Columbia University and came over and did that, fully intending to go home,
Uh,
but fell in love with America. Fell in love with the buzz of it, and particularly where I grew up, people are obsessed with where you're from and who you are. What street did you grow up on? What school did you go to? In New York, just no one gives a shit.
right, exactly.
People are like from all over the world. You get to escape the identity with which you were born and try and fashion a new one. However, not always very successfully, as you learn as you approach middle age. But it definitely was like a supercharge to me creatively that I didn't have to do plays that were about what is Ireland, and instead could just have a much broader canvas of artistic experiences. Then I worked in Washington, D.C. I worked for an off-Broadway company for a while as their director of programming. And then I worked as associate artistic director at a theater in DC. It was pretty big and did like a lot of like American work and work premieres. And I wasn't really aware of theater in Atlanta. I was
Mhm.
really focused in DC and New York and the relationship between them. And then whenever the job posting came up, I was like, this theater sounds incredible.
Mhm.
A mission, world-class theater that produces, that starts conversations that matter. That really reached me in some way. There's a lot going on in the world where theater as a commodity or, I think an experience for like upper middle class people just wasn't interesting anymore, and wanted to do something like more connected to
Mhm.
art, artists, a community, and this commitment to Atlanta artists that's been present since the beginning of the theater was very inspiring. Um, so applied, got it. Here I am.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so it's been how many years has it been now?
I'm on 7.
7 years. So you've been in Atlanta 7 years now. Could you describe your impressions of the city since you've been here and how those impressions are shaping the programming you're doing now?
Sure. Well, so, I mean, I fell in love with Atlanta pretty instantly. I kind of came down here and just something about the atmosphere and the people that I was like, oh yeah, I really feel at home here. And it took me a while to kind of like name it.
Hmm.
The first is that it really reminds me of home, which is ironic since it came since I was like, oh, I'm gonna escape home and remake myself in America. No, 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 no. The place that I feel comfortable and want to make work is the one that feels like has the cultural rules of home, which
Mm.
are friendliness, warmth, a commitment to community, a real sense of humor. People in Atlanta wanna have a banter with you, wanna laugh. People make fun of you, which is basically Belfast. That's how you
Yeah.
do one another. And I was just like, oh, people are this is fun. There is a lightness alongside the other part that reminds me of home, which is a presence with the complexity of American history.
Mm, yeah.
It's like built into the architecture here. It's like in the names of streets and how things work, into the nature of political power, into how people learn about themselves and where they live. And, controversially, in a very big way, people have very big feelings about it. Some people ignore it, and it's the city too busy to hit. And other people are like,
Mhm.
look at my life. This is the legacy of my life, is the legacy of the country. And when we're talking about conversations that matter, being in a place that where that history is present, and if you try and ignore it, you can't.
Mm,
As opposed to other parts of the country where people have like feel that they've reconciled some of those things. And I don't know, where I grew up, people did not agree with one another about what the history was, about what the land meant. Um, so those questions, I think, are baked into how I see the world. It just
hmm.
felt like at this stage of life and everything that I've experienced, it's a very rich place to like make art. And artists have been working together with each other for like decades. There's a richness, a depth to it that defies description in some ways.
Yeah. So, I mean, so with the complex, rich history, the sense of um community, the sense of collaboration, how are all those things sort of informing the way that you think about partnerships
Hmm.
and collaborations with either other theaters or with other organizations?
Yeah, so like the probably the most controversial idea that I have as an artistic director is that the American theater, as people like to talk, it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
People love using this thing. What is the future of the American theater? What's the American theater hold? I'm like, well, it's so different geographically.
Yeah.
Theater means different things to people in different parts of the country, and people think that it is homogenous because so much of it comes from New York, including me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm a product of that world. And this concept that theaters, like if it is not connected to a concept of place, it is connected to a concept of class.
Hmm.
Theater is something like opera, like literature that you must experience to be a fully rounded person in the world. Whereas if you connect it to place, you're like, this is what the story means here.
Right.
This is what this story means here. This is who is making this story. This is why we are making this story. So, in terms of programming, first thing I did when I got here was founded this program called Made in Atlanta, which was about creating art for Atlanta with Atlanta artists or doing world premieres of plays by other writers connected with the South that resonate here, that have something specific to say here. And
Hmm.
that connection between art and place defines everything that we do.
Yeah.
So, what is the world premiere we're doing? This is the world premiere we're doing. It's set in Atlanta, or it's adjacent to Atlanta, or adjacent to Georgia. Or we're creating something entirely new that speaks to something, a story that has not yet been told here, like our commission of Young John Lewis, the hip hop musical about the congressman that's about the civil rights movement and its connection to young people, rather than an elegy. It's about, it's like this living, pulsing history that feels connected to Black Lives Matter movement or, youth activist movements like across the South, across the country. And that's really exciting because as you build that work, you're not thinking, how is this theater? You're thinking, how do these stories really like catalyze something? So then you're like, well, who can partner with us? Well, the John and Lillian Miles Lewis Foundation, and this Get Out the Vote organization, and this person for a group sale, and this person for a talkback. And suddenly the play becomes like a connecting point with your community actively
Hmm.
rather than a good story that is very worthy that you want people to come to sell tickets, something more active. And probably the best example of this is our relationship with the Bremen
Yeah.
cultural organization focused on contemporary Jewish American life in the South, tracking those stories and those histories and breaking down this idea that Jewish American identity is homogenous. It's different here than it is in the Northeast, which is different than in California, which is different. It's the waves of immigration are different. How it articulates itself is different. Do people change their names and assimilate? Do they celebrate their connection to a very specific community? These things are alive in that relationship. So whenever we're doing work that's about Jewish identity or Jewish American identity, we do it with the Bremen now so that we are speaking with like within the community. We're not describing a community from the outside. We say, right, what are the Jewish artists that should be involved in this? What are the things that we should know? What do we need to remember when we are doing this work? And then that means that the productions that we make are very specific to here. And what is very ironic is that when we did the Lehman trilogy, other people are like, "Oh, that looks amazing! Bring it here."
Right, right.
And now that connection to and depth of connection to place is something that other, parts of the American theater want to bring to audiences in those places.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is a hard question. I know it's only been 7 years, and this is like choosing between children. But what two productions so far do you feel embody the ethos of TO now and moving forward?
Mm. I mean, it'd have to be Young John Lewis and the Lehman trilogy, which is why I bring them up as the examples.
Hmm.
Um, Young John Lewis because it celebrates like a story and a person that's really connected to this place, but also that there was three generations of black talent in that room.
Yeah.
And and people, so what was one kid's first professional show? Like
Mhm.
it's just the decades that overlap, people whose lives overlapped with John Lewis and knew him, done to people who'd never met him and were embodying his that was a rich room. And those connections between Atlanta artists, Atlanta stories, and the community, it made the building vibrate, and then it broke box office records and attendance records. It was just this statement, and then Lehman Trilogy, but it's a slightly different flavor of the same story. You got this play that had been done a lot around the country, and then we did it here, like adjacent to Alabama, where the
Mhm.
place begins, Montgomery, before it moves to New York. Um, and the excellence involved in that production of like older, seasoned artists at the top of their game, really swinging for something huge, and you know, just landing it with this ensemble energy, like associate artist energy. That was really special. And then the fact that that was invited to Alabama and now being invited to Connecticut as an example of excellence. I mean, that's very meaningful to me that Atlanta artists are being invited elsewhere to show what we make here.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
special.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
like
very special.
I could pick 10 shows that are special for different reasons. You know,
Right.
generally would involve the ensemble who made it and how brilliant Atlanta is, or the specific impact it had on the community. Which I think is why that I think is the ethos going forward. New work, catalyzing new ideas,
Mhm.
excellence in revivals of recent contemporary plays that are excellent, or 20th century classics through a fresh lens, like that collision of new ideas and existing ideas with excellence, that creates this crucible of tension between past and future here and there. Like there's just a lot of room in there for inspiration rather than like, here's your menu of plays that happened in New York last year.
Right. We're gonna program
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Open your mouth, enjoy, often in sets that look a little bit like that original set and, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. So this question is kind of personal.
Oh dear.
No,
It wasn't me.
no, no. So, how do you think being here and working at TO has changed and shaped your work, your personal work, and your process, your way of working?
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty straightforward, The difference between Theatrical Outfit and other places that I've worked is the amount of laughter. that you hear around the
We
halls.
do, we do laugh a lot.
We laugh a lot, but I think that's because the laughing is a symbol of the commitment to community within the building, within the rooms, how special it is to get these opportunities, rather than coming from the top down, like there's a standard that must be met and we will punish you until you meet it, even if we pretend we're not doing that. And I think that's the other thing is that the level of excellence.
Mm,
And the excellence is present in everything that we do, and the expectation for excellence is heavily present in everything that we do, and that we're able to combine that expectation of the extraordinary with lightness and joy. It means when you walk into the room, you're ready to work and you don't have to posture and pretend. And part of that's maybe in my mid 40s, and part of that's like working with artists who know who they are. But when we hear that laughter, you're like, there we go.
yeah.
Like it's not this is not an intellectual endeavor, it's a whole self endeavor.
Hmm.
And I like that happens in rehearsal rooms that I lead and also others too. That's become an experience that people have with Theatrical Outfit is I really loved it. I felt great and it's the best thing I've ever done. And that's rare. That's rare, not
That's
just
very rare.
anywhere.
Yeah. Um, so I know some of these, but for our final question,
Uh,
are there any little glimpses into the future in terms of where Tio is headed that you would like to share for the archives?
so on this date. As we it's our 50th, I think he exhibits a lot of these things in action. We've got world premieres of new work as part of our Launchpad Festival. We've got Fences and Death of a Salesman bookending it. And that tension and pressure is really, really exciting. And I think that as we move forward, we're going to see bolder and bigger commissions.
Hmm.
Well, I don't necessarily mean more cast. I mean just that, like now, the scope of which we're swinging at is bigger, and maybe that results in some national co-productions. I think we're going to continue to see plays that have been excellent done with a kind of a Atlanta spin. The biggest thing I would like to tease here is that we are approaching a formal commitment to a group of associate artists.
Yeah.
And I think that is the thing that will shift how we work, because I think what we do is going to change year on year depending on what's exciting. But the artists that we have working with us, like our relationships with them are so special that I think it's, well, what do you want to do? What do you see? How do you want to use our space? Do you want to start a company? Can that be here? It's like that relationship yeah, can just get richer as we look at what resources we have. There's amazing space, these amazing rehearsal rooms, a limited budget. Let's be clear, they get smaller every year with the rising cost of inflation and materials. But one thing we are not poor in is ideas and creativity. So it's like, how do we make more
Mm.
instead of the same but less? What does more look like? And I think artists are the people who answer that rather than you and me and spreadsheet. Uh,
Especially.
100 plays that we read.
Great, great, awesome, man. Well, Matthew, thank you for your stewardship and your vision for the institution.
Thank you.